Imagine heading into this season and someone told you that James Franklin would be the head coach of Virginia Tech starting in 2026. You would have been laughed out of the room. Franklin had Penn State sitting as the number 2 team in the preseason polls. They were just coming off a College Football Playoff Semifinal appearance, a game they lost in heartbreaking fashion. This is an insane hire by Virginia Tech, and Franklin is someone who could bring them back to their glory days. This is a story of the savior of Virginia Tech football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who you think ends up being the craziest head coaching hire this cycle in the comment section below. When the news broke that James Franklin was fired as head coach of Penn State, my jaw hit the ground in shock. There were a lot of media talking heads discussing the idea, and even I made a video about the Nittany Lions disaster of a start to the season, but I never thought Penn State was actually going to fire him. I thought it was going to be one of those things where it gets discussed over and over again, and then 3 years down the line, we were just laughing about the idea that Penn State even considered firing him. I thought James Franklin may choose to step away, but I never expected him to be fired with a $49 million buyout. But then the move was made after a loss to Oregon, a game that went to overtime, UCLA, and Northwestern. I thought Franklin was going to sit out a season, take a year to get his mind right and smell the roses, and take some of that buyout money to sit back and relax. In this day and age, college coaching is 365 days a year, and you don't get a day off. Franklin had been coaching since he graduated East Stroudsburg, beginning his coaching career in 1995 at Kutztown. He had been a head coach ever since 2011, coaching at the Power 4 level. The man had to feel some sort of burnout, right? Back-to-back highly emotional seasons between the playoff runs in 2024 and the way the 2025 season went, but then rumors started swirling that Franklin could be the guy at Virginia Tech. These reports have been going on for weeks, but then it seemed like it wasn't going to happen. Many in the industry felt Franklin was going to take a wait-and-see type of approach to see if a job like Florida State was going to open up. Was Florida or LSU going to show interest? If a big-time head coach left for one of those Florida, LSU, or Penn State jobs, could he be in the running to coach one of those unknown schools? It did not feel like Franklin was going to take a head coaching job just to take a head coaching job. If he was going to take a job, it was going to be somewhere that truly felt he could compete for a college football playoff spot at the very least, and maybe even for a national title. He was a big-name head coach who, if he never coached again, was going to collect generational wealth from his Penn State buyout. I thought he would be a great addition for the college football media landscape if he chose to wait things out. I never really cared for James Franklin when he was at Penn State. I have said that on multiple occasions when working on this channel. I met him while I was going through the recruitment process as a long snapper back when I was in high school. He just rubbed me the wrong way. But that was just my personal experience. Everyone has different opinions on someone based off their experience with them. Then I saw the College Game Day interview after he was fired, and saw a completely different person than the person I met back in 2016. Maybe time had changed him, or maybe it was the fact that he was fired from a coaching position for the first time in his career. He seemed a lot more humble, but there was also a fire within. I remember texting a few of my buddies, including Cole Adams, saying if Franklin was going to accept another coaching job, he was going to win a national title there. Then on November 17th, James Franklin was named the 36th head coach at Virginia Tech, replacing his former defensive coordinator Brent Pry, who was fired earlier this season. I thought this was a home run hire for Virginia Tech. James Franklin has won everywhere he has coached. Franklin is from Langhorne, Pennsylvania, and like I mentioned earlier, played college football at East Stroudsburg University, where he was a 4-year starter and broke multiple school records. He began his coaching career as an assistant at Kutztown before returning to East Stroudsburg. He would then get his first offense coordinator role with the Roskilde Kings of the Danish American Football Federation, before returning to the States to serve as an assistant for James Madison, Washington State, Idaho State, Maryland, and the Green Bay Packers of the NFL. In 2006, he was named the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Kansas State. In 2008, he held the same roles as well as an assistant head coaching position, Maryland. Finally, in 2011, Franklin would get his first head coaching job at Vanderbilt, a school where most coaching careers have gone to die before the arrival of Clark Lee. Franklin was not originally the frontrunner. That would actually be Gus Malzahn, who was the Auburn OC at the time. When Malzahn turned the job down, Franklin would become the Commodore's guy. Before Franklin arrived, Vanderbilt had never gone to a bowl game in consecutive seasons and had only been to one bowl game since the early 1980s. From 1997 to 2010, they were 46-116. Franklin led them to a 24-15 record, 3 consecutive bowl games, their first consecutive bowl game wins in school history, and back-to-back 9-4 seasons. Franklin was named the head coach at Penn State after Bill O'Brien bolted to the NFL. When Franklin was hired, the Nittany Lions were in the middle of NCAA sanctions due to the Jerry Sandusky scandal. Within his first 3 years, though, Franklin led them to the Big Ten Conference title and an appearance in the Rose Bowl with an 11-3 season. He led Penn State to 6 10-win seasons, 5 New Year's Six Bowl appearances, and a berth in the College Football Playoffs. They went to 10 bowl games under Franklin, with the only year they missed one being 2020 because they chose to opt out of one. Last year, Franklin led Penn State to the Big Ten title game in the semifinals of the College Football Playoffs, where they lost a heartbreaker to Notre Dame. Before he was fired by Penn State, Franklin had put together a 104-45 record as head coach. The issue was, he was 4-21 against AP top 10 teams, while also going 3-7 against Michigan and 1-10 against Ohio State. That is the main reason Penn State decided to fire him, a decision I feel like they're going to regret in the long run. Franklin knows the expectations Virginia Tech has and would not accept the job if he did not feel the school was bought into competing at the highest level. He replaced a close friend in Brent Pry when he was named head coach and said this during his press conference.
I'd like to acknowledge Brent Pry. Sorry. I always say I'm not going to get emotional, and then I get emotional. So, Brent Pry's a good friend. Gosh. Brent Pry's dad was my offensive coordinator in college. Gosh. Brent's dad was my offensive coordinator in college. I've known Brent for over 30 years. Brent's first year coaching was my senior year at the Harvard of the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference, East Stroudsburg University. I know you guys are all very familiar with it. And then Brent and his family was with me at Vanderbilt all 3 years, and then I think for our first 7 years at Penn State. So I got a ton of respect for Brent and his family. I know he poured his heart and soul into this place. I know this place is better today because of Brent and the commitment that he made. So I just want to show the respect to him. I know how much coaches pour their hearts and souls into this job, and I just wanted to make sure that I gave Brent the respect that him and his family deserve. Been in this profession for over 30 years and have learned a ton of lessons. Started in Division II, worked my way all the way up, got my first big break in the ACC, been a head coach in the SEC, been a head coach in the Big Ten, and now obviously fortunate to have this unbelievable opportunity in the ACC at Virginia Tech. But all these experiences, all these lessons that I've learned, we're going to pour them into Virginia Tech. And I feel like it's going to put us in a really specific position to separate ourselves over a ton of different schools. There's very few head coaches that have had the experience in the SEC, in the Big Ten, and the ACC. And we're going to use all those experiences and resources for the betterment of Virginia Tech. I want to thank Penn State. I had 12 years there. It's very unusual in college football to get 12 years at a place. Fortunate for me, I know a ton of people here, right? One of the advantages and one of the challenges from my 12 years at Penn State is that we had a ton of people leave our program to go be head coaches. We lost Joe Moorhead to go to Mississippi State. We lost Ricky Ronnie to go to Old Dominion. We lost Manny Diaz to go to Duke. We lost Brent Pry to go to Virginia Tech. And when you lose really good people, that's part of the challenge, is you got to continue to try to replace them. The other challenge is when they leave you, they take staff members with them, typically for promotions, right? And that's one of the challenges. You continue to lose really, really good people. The advantage, obviously, is I'm able to call Brent Pry, and he's going to tell me the truth. I didn't really want anybody to sugarcoat it because none of these places are perfect. I'm not perfect, right? Let's just talk about what are the strengths, what are the advantages, what are the challenges. And Brent was very, very transparent. The first thing that was very obvious is he cares about this place deeply. Going all the way back to when I think he was a GA with Bud in the Sugar Bowl. He's always spoke very, very highly of this place and the community as well. But that's valuable. It also allowed me and Whit to have very transparent conversations as well about some of the feedback I was getting, what are the plans for these types of things. I'm no different than anybody else here, right? When you're making a decision that's not only going to impact your career, but also is going to impact your family, you want to make sure that you're making that decision with as much of the information possible so you can make an educated decision and put my family in the best position to be successful, but most importantly, put Virginia, well, not most importantly, just as importantly, put Virginia Tech in the best position to be successful. And you can't really do that unless you have all the information. So Brent's been great through this entire process. I got a ton of respect for him and his family. And I probably would not be sitting here today without Brent's input and thoughts about this place. Is in my 15 years, we've always done it the right way. There's no shortcuts in building a program. And I think we have a track record that shows that. And I know that was important to all the men on this stage as well. Winning is really important. There's nobody that understands the importance of winning more than me, but there's also a way to do it with character and integrity, and we'll continue to do that and represent Virginia Tech the right way, both on and off the field. The passion is critical. We talked about it on Saturday. We've already started recruiting. 2 nights ago, I had 40 players on the phone, young men that are committed to Virginia Tech. Also called all the top players in the state of Virginia as well. And we are going to need this stadium rocking on Saturday. One of the things that was important is me and my wife, when we were making this decision, we watched your game day the last few weeks, and it was impressive. During a challenging season, I want to give Coach Montgomery a ton of credit as well. The stadium is rocking. The guys are playing hard. And that's going to be important. We're going to have a ton of recruits this weekend for an official visit, and I want them to feel the energy in our stadium. So I'm going to ask you to pack that stadium for us. I can't wait to run out Enter the Sandman. As for coaches, I'm going to bring the best fit for Virginia Tech. We're going to have an opportunity to attract some of the best coaches in the country. That will be in terms of spending time with the current staff and seeing who makes sense to keep on with us, because those people have obviously poured their hearts and soul into this program. Also bringing some coaches from other places as well. But that's going to be a very important piece of this process as well. But I will tell you, I think they were very aggressive, right? The very first time we met, I don't want to speak for them, but I feel like they were ready for me to say yes that night, and I thought it was just a initial conversation. But I think they were aggressive. And what I will also say, thanks to the leadership of everybody, is what was very obvious to me very early on is that they had a plan, right? They had a plan. And I think you'd be surprised going through this process how few people really understand what college football takes in today's day and age. They had done their own homework, so it wasn't like coming to me and what do you need? They already had a great list and a really good plan put together on what was needed to be successful in today's college football, not only in the ACC, because I think that's a mistake that people make sometimes. They benchmark only on their conference. And the reality is we should be benchmarking not only on our conference, but also nationally, right? If we truly have the expectations and the standards of where we want to go, then our commitment must match those expectations. And that's what I was able to feel very early on, that there was a plan. There was an approach and mentality that I think aligned with what I was looking for and what my family was looking for. And I think that really helped the process. It wasn't like having a conversation with me. I'm talking about the things that I think we need to have to be successful at the very highest level. They were already there. So I think that really helped with the entire process. But I'd say very aggressive from that point on. Me and Bud spoke pretty much every day.
Franklin knows how special of a place Virginia Tech is, calling former legendary head coach Frank Beamer to receive his blessing to take the job. He explained, "He built this place. I was able to get Coach Beamer's blessing, and that means a ton to me. Nobody's more important to Virginia Tech than Frank Beamer and his family." The school seemed bought in after approving a $229 million athletic budget over the next 4 years after Pry was fired. Franklin is learning from his pitfalls at Penn State and took a month to reflect on where things went wrong. Now he can improve as a head coach. He knows how to recruit the state of Virginia, as he has stolen many Virginia players while coaching at Penn State. He said at the basketball game last week, "You could not have found a coach that's going to pour his heart and soul into a place more than me and my family. I give you my word on that." Virginia Tech got away with doing more with less over the years, but that has led to them falling behind in this version of college football. That is no longer going to be the case. A team source said, "We missed the boat on that. We should have had more analysts and been on the forefront. We just didn't have the money to do it." While another person explained, "It's a big-time college football atmosphere with a fan base that loves this place, but outside the game day, there's a lot it's like, man, this place does not stack up. It really is from everything outside of the game day where it's like, we're extremely behind. They need to continue to build up funding and need to focus on keeping recruits in state and going to Tech. If they do that, they will return to the glory days with Franklin serving as head coach." What do you think? Can Virginia Tech become a college football playoff contender under Franklin? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.